And we move to the next news video. As I mentioned at the end of the last one, we have the announcement to talk about from SmackDown last night. But we start with an update from last night's SmackDown, as simply put, Vince McMahon was not on the show last night, and that this apparently, according to PW Insider, will be what is expected on a weekly basis. That Vince will not be there weekly, but he will be aware of what's going on creatively, having meetings with creative about the expectations for the event. It is not just that he was not at SmackDown because he will not normally be at SmackDown, but he will be at Raw. It's that Vince will not weekly be at the programming. It was just a special set of circumstances that he was at Raw because of the fact that it was in the same area as WrestleMania the night before, and that is the only reason why. It is expected that things will go back to how things were before, and that if things do go back to that, then if things go back to how they were before WrestleMania, then the morale will recover and everything will go back to normal as far as how things were. And, we'll be back to business as usual in no uncertain terms. Which I think that is what everybody's hoping for, because I think to a degree, a lot of people were nervous about the fact that Vince McMahon was going to take unnecessary control again of WWE, and nobody wanted to see that, because Triple H and Nick Khan have been doing more than enough to prove that they are more than capable to handle the company without Vince, and they don't need him to stick his nose in the daily work, the creative side of the business. I mean, I'm not saying Vince does not have the right to know what's going on, but they don't need him to stick his nose where it doesn't belong. And, if overall Vince is, the preference overall in the company would be that Vince does not stick his nose in the daily creative as a standing of helping with morale, then Vince should respect his employees and just do what is best for business and stay out of the way when it comes to the weekly programming, because nobody wants him or needs him at the weekly program anymore. But now we move to an interesting turn of events, as Shinsuke Nakamura has not been seen on WWE programming since last November. And there have been rumors and rumblings alongside Randy Orton about Shinsuke Nakamura and when the artist will return, as there have been conversations that plans for Shinsuke were put on hold until following WrestleMania, as Triple H wants to invest in Shinsuke Nakamura and revamp and rebuild Shinsuke Nakamura. I, for one, think that this is one of the best things WWE could do, as Shinsuke Nakamura is still somebody that can be an asset to the company and do more than what he did before he took his hiatus. But it is that WWE themselves have to invest in Nakamura if they want to have Nakamura do more. Otherwise, he will not do anything more than he did before. And, I mean, they would be better off just letting him go if that's the case. Unless they put him back in a tag team with Boogs. Because WWE, for whatever reason, can always use a tag team. It is true. WWE, for whatever reason, can always use a tag team. But, with that being said, Nakamura will be returning to programming next week on SmackDown, and I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say I can't be the only one looking forward to the return of Shinsuke Nakamura. And the fact of the matter is, we also move to a much-deserved signing from AEW, as Sky Blue has finally signed officially with with All Elite Wrestling. Sky Blue has been a frequent flyer on AEW programming for at least a year or two at this point, so to see her finally sign with AEW and get a much-deserved contract, it deserves a bit of praise. So, congratulations to Sky Blue for her contract and finally nailing down a spot in All Elite Wrestling. Speaking of an interesting turn of events, Swerve Strickland made an announcement last night on Rampage and then appeared following the match between Lee Moriarty and Darby Allin. And honestly, I thought this was to announce that the Mogul affiliates had merged with the Firm. I don't know why I totally forgot what the name of the stable was, but I thought it was that they merged with the Firm because earlier in the night, Swerve Strickland mentioned that the Mogul affiliates had merged with a faction. As it turns out, Brian Cage appeared. The faction that the Mogul affiliates merged with was not the Firm, it was the Embassy. And as it turns out, I don't know that Brian Cage is leaving anytime soon, even though his contract expired at the end of March. I don't know that Brian Cage is going to be leaving anytime soon if he appeared alongside Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland on the most recent episode of Rampage. So there's a question about that, but that's something we got to keep an eye on, as it is an interesting turn of events that the Mogul affiliates and the Embassy are now more of a faction instead of two individual stables. But as I mentioned at the end of the last news video, the WWE draft was announced to be returning. For the first time in nearly 2 years, the WWE will be drafting up their talent, as it is time to shake things up again and get the draft up underway. Right now, according to Worked Wrestling, the potential date for the draft to return is May 8th, which is a month from today, and an episode of Monday Night Raw. You know, it is a month from today and an episode of Monday Night Raw, so it will be interesting, as Triple H promised that every member of the WWE roster will be available for the draft. Could this be where we see the debut of a new championship because of some technicality in the draft? I would say it is 50-50 possible. But also, could we also see some talent from NXT like Cameron Grimes make their debut on the main roster? I guess we will have to wait and see, because in my opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with this, the WWE draft is one of my favorite parts of WWE's calendar year, and I frankly look forward to the draft. I always did, and I always do look forward to the draft. And this year is no different. The fact of the matter is, the WWE draft is the main way that WWE uses to shake things up. And if there's anything that WWE needs to do now, is shake things up. Let me know down in the comment section below if you are looking forward to the WWE draft, and if you think that the draft should happen in April, or if it's better off happening in May. Let me know down in the comment section below, and I also hope you enjoy the previews for Battle Riot 5 and Sakura Genesis, as the preview for Sakura Genesis is already up on the channel, and the preview for Battle Riot 5 should be up later today. But I hope you enjoyed those previews and the wrestling action that is set for your viewing pleasure tonight from MLW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. With that being said, I will see you in the next video, as the news is done for today.